For the majority of Star Wars' lifespan, there has really only been one scale of figure for Star Wars, and that has been the 3 3/4 inch, as started by Kenner way back when in 1977 with the release of the first film. That was until Hasbro decided to change the game by producing a 6-inch scale line of Star Wars figures with their Black series. It wasn't long before other toy companies such as Mafex and SH Figuarts decided to create their own lines. With so much choice on the market, it can be difficult to decide which version is the right one for you. So with that in mind, I've decided to put the two Darth Vaders head to head, and we will see who is the best Vader. We'll start by looking at the packaging, and as you can see with the Hasbro Black series, it's very dull. There's really not an awful lot to it. We have the Star Wars logo, we have the name of the character, and we have a little icon, little picture of the character there, as you can see at the top right hand corner. This is very simple and minimalist. And whilst the packaging is small, which goes in the collector's favour of being able to store it away, it's not very exciting. If we look at the side panel on the box here, it is just plain black. There's something to be said for uniformity, but this is taking it a little bit too far. And yeah, as you can see on the back of the pack, there's a little bit of information about the line, but that's it. There's no pictures of the characters, there's no artwork, just the blue dots. Moving on to the Mafex, and instantly we can see a vast improvement here. The packaging is obviously a lot bigger, it's more colourful, and we actually have an image of the figure on the case there. So this is a lot more attractive. It's much, like I said, much more bright, much more colourful, and we get to see the packaging is really boasting what you're getting with this figure. You can see all the accessories in there, and it's really trying to draw the eye. This thinking is carried over to the back of the box, where again we get to see an interesting action pose of the figure. We've got the bright colours, the orange and the yellow against the black. It looks very striking, and of course we get to see lots of different photos of some of the extra features that comes with this figure. So this again looks really good. Likewise, the side panel actually has an image of the toy in action and looks very attractive. So when he's standing next to other figures in the Mafex line, he looks interesting and fun. Okay, so onto the figures themselves. How do these stack up against each other when it comes to just pure looks? Well, these are both two fantastic looking Darth Vader figures, there's no doubt about that. But what I think is striking about the two is the difference in texture. What we can see with Hasbro is a lot more texture, a lot more detail when it comes to the leather effect that he's got in his arms, his main bodysuit, but also his tunic and skirts and the chain around his neck. There's a little bit more attention to detail there and a little bit more effort to try and bring this character to life with a lot more different textures, a lot more cloth and a lot more feeling to the figure. And as you can see here, the chain they've used is a real chain. It's obviously interactive, it's malleable, so you can move it around, and it just feels more authentic. It just feels more, there's a greater texture there. Likewise, the cloth they've used for the cape is really nice and it flows quite heavily. There is no wire in the cape, there's no articulation there, but he does have the cloth on his chest piece for his tunic, and this extends to the skirt to the bottom of the figure as well, which I think looks really good, and like I said, adds a lot more texture and feeling to the character. However, this might actually be a case of being a little bit too much. When we compare it with the Mafex figure, we can see that yes, the Darth Vader does have a wonderful material cape. It does have a wire in it, so there is some articulation there, so you can do different things in terms of shaping the cape to create different dramatic poses. That's a definite win. But it doesn't have things like the chain or the material tunic or skirt, which is here is just a plastic piece. And that can definitely be dull and a bit uninteresting. Now, the benefit of using the plastic is that it will have the effect of looking more in proportion and will generally look consistent regardless of what pose you've got him in. Also, I think it's fair to note that of course the Hasbro version is quite specifically A New Hope. You can see that the eyes have that slightly brown filter as opposed to the jet black, whereas the Mafex can just be more of a generic Darth Vader. He can be Darth Vader from any of the films. But I think this is a nice touch and an extra level of attention to detail that Hasbro have included, which is really good. He grips his lightsaber well, and there's enough attention to detail in the paint apps on the lightsaber to look authentic. The Mafex, on the other hand, has a longer, slimmer handle and blade, and I think this actually might be a little bit too long. It doesn't look quite in proportion. But the paint apps are, I think, better applied, and it looks a lot more sleek and more screen accurate. But looks aren't everything, so what extras do they come with? When we look at Hasbro, he comes with his lightsaber and his helmet. The helmet breaks away in 2 parts, so you can have 2 different looks, and underneath we have the charred Anakin head. With the Mafex, however, we are given his lightsaber, his helmet, an extra Anakin head, his battle damage dismembered arm, and 1, 2, 3, 4 extra pairs of hands. Plus, he comes with a stand. So for the sake of comparison, here are the 2 Anakin heads as on display. Once again, in terms of presentation, Hasbro has to be the winner here. I think the fit of the sculpt is really good, but also the detailing they've got in there looks fantastic, especially with the mouthpiece and the actual little details in the grill beneath his chin there. It looks absolutely fantastic. The Mafex one is very good and has a bit more colour, but it doesn't look quite as authentic and screen accurate as the Hasbro. However, another point where Mafex takes the biscuit here is they have also included the option to be able to connect his unignited lightsaber to his belt. On his belt there is a soft rubber piece there with a little hook on it that when you take the lightsaber there's a little peg hole and it just slides in nice and smoothly, and he can then hold it by his side without having to have the lightsaber ignited. I think this is a really nice touch, and again creates a lot more variety of different poses and positions you can have him in. And here are the 2 lightsabers side by side to give us a closer look at the attention to detail that's been put into these. You can see clearly with the Mafex that it is a longer blade, it is a longer handle, and there's a lot more attention to detail within it. And finally, here we have the Darth Vader from Mafex with his battle damage dismembered right hand. And of course we can see the battle damage in there and it looks absolutely brilliant. There's a lot of attention to detail. And this is perfect for recreating those scenes from Return of the Jedi. So clearly, the Mafex figure has a lot more accessories and has to be the clear winner. Okay, now to see how these guys move. Hasbro Darth can move his head from side to side, although do be careful you don't knock his helmet off, and he can look up and down a little bit as well. He does have that ball jointed neck, so that's pretty solid, that's very good. He does have the ball jointed shoulders, however I do struggle to get his arm any higher than this because of that shoulder pad there, which is a solid hard plastic and yeah, doesn't have a lot of give in it. You can rotate his arm up though to move past that, and he does have a single jointed elbow which swivels from side to side, and of course he does have the 360-degree swivel at the wrist. Sadly, there is no ab crunch, but he can swivel from side to side at his waist. And I think this must be a ball jointed waist because there is a little bit of give to moving backwards and forwards, but not an awful lot. He has a swivel at the thigh, his legs are hinged at the hips, so of course they kick up and back and out to the side. They have double jointed knees, which is fantastic, and he also has the ankle pivot as well, so he can move his feet from side to side and up and down as well. Mafex, on the other hand, has that same ball-jointed neck piece there, so his head can move from side to side. Again, you do have to be careful with the helmet to make sure you don't knock it off, but he can move from side to side, and he can move it up and down a fair bit as well, so that's pretty solid. Now, he does have the ball-jointed shoulders, but you can see that he actually has the soft plastic shoulder piece there that actually allows the extra movement, so he can get his arm right the way up there. He has the double-jointed elbow, and of course he's got the swivel and hinge wrist as well. Now you'll notice he also has a ball joint in the chest piece as well, so of course he can move his chest up and down and from side to side. So that is in place of an ab crunch, but he also has the ball jointed hips, so he can swivel from side to side with a little bit of extra give there. So you can see he can actually look a good distance back and a little bit forward as well, which is good. Now his legs, again, he's got the ball jointed hips, so he can kick up to the side. He has a double jointed knees, and of course he has the ankle pivot as well. Now this is a ball jointed ankle pivot, so again there's a wide range of motion you can get out of this, but he also has the toe articulation. So when combined with the shoulder piece that extends the arms above, clearly Mafex is the winner. So then, after putting these chaps through their paces, what have we learned? Well, we've discovered that Mafex do better, more engaging, more attractive packaging. We've also discovered that Mafex had much better articulation, and of course they came packed with a lot more accessories. But also the details of the figure have maybe been thought out a little bit better, in terms of the shoulder pads. They're allowing the articulation in the shoulders to move and be more free-flowing. And finally, I think the proportions of the Mafex figure are more appropriate and they're more consistent. Perhaps unsurprisingly then, Mafex is our overall winner. And you might think, given the difference in price point between these figures, that that should have been a foregone conclusion. However, something that's quite interesting about this is that actually, I feel that Hasbro did a much better job on the presentation. They had a lot more textures and different materials going into their figure, and actually gave Mafex a very good run for their money. So I have to say that actually I think the Hasbro version stands up perfectly well, and this wasn't actually an easy battle. And ultimately, it comes down to the individual buyer. What is it you prefer in your figure? And that is what will determine which version of this character you should buy. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe as I will be posting more videos soon.